Okay, we're here. It's time to talk about the first night of the shows. The shows is plural, not more than one night. It is night one of AEW Fyter Fest and NXT, the Great American Bash, which I'm not going to lie, I did love when Cody Rhodes came out last night with the Great American Bash style logo on his t-shirt where it said The American Nightmare Cody. I loved that. It's not so much, I don't particularly like the wee sort of digs, because I feel like it's so unnecessary. But every so often there'll be a really good one and I'll be like, okay, that was really good. There was two on AEW last night. Even in fact there was three. First of all was the Cody one, then the other one I liked was Taz's promo. And we talk about Taz on the podcast all the time, how we loved Taz back in the day, we love Taz as a commentator, we love Taz now. And even as a heel manager and this heel promo like thing, you know, that he's doing every week, kind of building up Brian Cage and talking about Moxley. He's just so good. I don't know if it's believable or if it's just he's legit. I don't know, but there's something about him that makes you listen and makes you kind of take him seriously. I think Taz was needing that because he was always really like the funny guy on commentary, and he was great. He was always a great commentator, and he still is on AEW Dark. He's the kind of daft colour commentator, but he also does like he can analyse things and critique things as a, you know, amateur accomplished wrestler, which always made him so good on WWE, on SmackDown and that sort of thing. But Taz cuts his promo last night and he says, we don't run a sloppy shop, obviously because of all the controversy with WWE and their COVID testing and all that sort of stuff. But those are the two ones that really popped me. The other one on AEW last night was MJF in the first match, and he said we're in a ratings war. It's the first time anybody's really mentioned that in terms of being actually on the show, you know. How we're competing against somebody, and they'll not admit it, they'll not say that, I guess they did last night, but they'll not like usually admit the fact that they're competition to each other and they're at war. But you know, any competition is good competition, and I love the fact that NXT responded with a Great American Bash, you know what I mean? Like, that's, people are saying, oh, what a cheap move and typical WWE, but it's good. It's like competition, it shows the strength of both shows. I tried to watch NXT today whilst I was working from home. I caught some of it. I saw the whole opener, the Fatal 4-Way women's match, really good. Loved Tegan Knox. Glad she won the match. I saw the start of the Timothy Thatcher and Oney Lorcan match, and it was just like beautiful. You know what I mean? Like this grappling demonstration. It was great. And then I saw the strap match, and I saw bits of the Io Shirai and Sasha Banks match, and it was good. I mean, NXT is always going to put on a good show regardless. I saw the Rhea Ripley thing where she lifted up both Aaliyah and Robbie E. That was really cool. Aaliyah's totally grown on me. Rhea Ripley again, another one that's totally grown on me. Especially over the past little while with Rhea Ripley and WrestleMania and all that stuff. So, yeah, NXT's always going to put on a solid show. The problem with NXT is it doesn't feel special enough every week. If it was the Great American Bash last night against an average AEW, then maybe NXT would have got that kind of cool factor back. But the fact that AEW were also putting on a big show, and on the average week, every Wednesday night when it is AEW on one channel and NXT on the other, AEW does feel more special. It does feel like it's got more of a buzz about it. It feels cool. That's always the one I watch first. The only time I've watched NXT first is around Survivor Series time. Back in November when, like, I guess AJ was on the show or something, or Rollins was on the show or something like that, Charlotte maybe, before Charlotte was doing every show, and I guess Sasha Banks is doing every show now, and next it'll be Asuka, and then it'll be Kairi Sane, and then it'll be Bayley, and they're just doing this rotation. And that's great because they're the women's tag champions, and you know, when you're feuding with all these other people on different rosters, it gives you that opportunity to go back and forth, and it adds a bit of, you know, novelty to the show. Like that Io Shirai and Sasha Banks match, that's a big match, you know, that's a main event anywhere. And it felt big, and I like how that was like the main event because that was the attracted match, you know. Whereas on AEW there was so many attractions, and there is so many more attractions, and even the fact that the world title match has been pushed back an extra week just to be safe, you know, because of Moxley being in contact with someone with COVID, but I guess it was Renee Young. You know, they're just not going to take any chances, and I like that. Like, just I don't like when people try and pretend nothing happens. It's a very ECW like thing. Like, I wasn't around for the prime of ECW, but when you watch these documentaries and you hear all these interviews and stuff, it seems, you know, like it was like that. If something really bad happened behind the scenes, they would come out and they would speak about it and they would address it to the audience. And that's kind of what happened last night. They said, okay, it's now going to happen at Fight for the Fallen a week later because of this stuff. And then I gave Taz the opportunity to come out and chat with with Brian Cage there and stuff like that. So that's like a big match in its own right, Moxley versus Cage. You know, love the fact that that's still, you know, the main event. It was supposed to be the main event of Fyter Fest, and even though it's not even going to happen anymore, Fyter Fest next week still feels big when they've got Jericho and Orange Cassidy, and then this massive 8-man tag, FTR and the Bucks versus Butcher and Blade and the Lucha Bros. Butcher and the Blade, I don't know much about other than all I've seen on AEW since they debuted back in October or whatever it was. They're an okay team, I have no appeal to them. However, seeing the Lucha Bros, the Young Bucks and FTR in the same match, they are probably the 3 best tag teams in the world. I guess you could throw the Usos in there, and I don't know, who else could you throw in there? Undisputed Era, you know, as the best tag teams in the world, you know. What a match that's going to be, I can't wait to see that. I guess that was kind of what they went off. Or Hangman and Omega could be the 5th best team in the world, I don't know. I mean, Hangman Page, oh my god, just the best performer, or one of the best performers anyway. And it's such a shame, because that story that they were doing, that whole build up before the pandemic of all this tease turn, and it was going to happen, and then Hangman was getting like the biggest reactions, and it was like, don't turn them heel yet. I think I said it on you know, the wrestling chat here on CM42 TV before. Don't turn them heel yet. Let them ride this wave of like this huge momentum, and then when you turn them, it's going to be this big shocker, you know. And I guess that's what they were going for. And then the pandemic struck. I guess he was quarantined because we didn't see him for like 6 weeks, and now he's still doing it. He's still doing the kind of, I'm not really part of the elite anymore, I'm more interested in my own thing, I want to go and have a drink, I'm thinking about turning on Kenny. Like, he's still doing it, but it's not as prominent because I guess there's no crowds, and you know, there was a bit of a delay to it. But around Revolution sort of time, when they had that tag match, which probably is the best AEW match ever, you know, up until this point, and I guess will probably be the 2020 match of the year, when it was the Bucks versus Omega and Page at Revolution. Like, and then they teased the turn there and stuff. Like, it was just brilliant storytelling, and the reason that match was so good, that tag match was so good, was because of the storytelling and the selling and the, you know, just the whole atmosphere around the match. Is like, you never know what's going to happen, you never know who was going to win, you didn't know if Hangman was going to turn, and they're still doing it like last night against Best Friends and stuff. But like, I don't know, it's a long story, and I kind of like the fact it's a long story, but it's kind of been a long story because the pandemic is happening, you know, and it's kind of preventing the payoff from happening. So whatever, I don't mind. But other than that, like, Fyter Fest Night 1 was good. Cody and Jake Hager had a good match. Wasn't sure about the finish, but they had a good match. First match was really good, Jurassic Express versus Wardlow and MJF. I love how we're now establishing in AEW like the individual characters and individual stories. Like, MJF's always with Wardlow, and anytime you see Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus isn't far behind, and it's just nice to see everybody kind of coming into their own. Jericho on commentary, you know, can't beat it really. Private Party, Santana and Ortiz, I liked the match, but they all wore red. They all wore the same colour, and it was just like, did they agree on this? And what was the other one? Shida and Penelope Ford, great match. I mean, to talk about coming into your own, both of them really, but Penelope Ford, from being a manager really, to having the best match of her career. I say, I've not seen every match of her career, but the best one I've seen against Shida. And Shida, I mean, she's just great, isn't she? She's a total boss. I kind of tweeted that. I was kind of tweeting along last night during the show on the Wrestling Connection Twitter, which is at WrestleConnect1 on Twitter, and I was trying to get some attraction to the channel, or to the page, and to the Twitter. I've got an itchy nose, apologies. But I kept tweeting about the show and stuff, and I said, like, I love both Penelope and Hikaru, but Shida's just such a boss, man. Like, some of the moves she does, and her look, and just the kind of way she carries herself, and her moveset, and she's like a respected wrestler, but she also has this really cool offense. She's great, and I hope she has the title for a long time, because there's no one really. I mean, Penelope Ford, you know, put up a good fight last night. The only person that comes close to Shida in terms of entertainment value, great in the ring, great, you know, all-round character, is Britt Baker. And Britt Baker is one of the most entertaining things on TV. You know, the Britt Baker act is one of the most entertaining things on all TV, wrestling-wise, you know. I can't wait for her to get back. I've just totally jumped shipped. You know, I was really not a Britt Baker supporter really, and since the heel turn and since this character development stuff she's been doing, total changeover to now she's one of my favourite people to watch every week. So I guess Big Swole's another one, and I guess Nyla Rose as well, but we really need to continue this momentum with the women's division, because that was the thing that people were worried about with AEW, was the women's division. You can't have a whole division surrounding one or two wrestlers, and they've built up Britt Baker and they've built up Shida, but they need, you know, keep working on Penelope and keep working on Big Swole and bring in more people. You know, Brandy Rhodes should be having more matches, and they should have got Deonna Purrazzo, but she went to Impact. She would have been a big name. I guess Tessa Blanchard is free now, but again, she's a mad racist, so why would you sign Tessa Blanchard? I don't know. So they need some more, you know, women's wrestlers into that division to kind of strengthen it. But I really enjoyed the show, and I enjoyed the Great American Bash as well. I'm looking forward to night 2 on both sides because Adam Cole and Keith Lee is going to be really good, and it's Mia Yim and Candice LeRae, I believe, in a street fight next week on NXT, and then of course Orange Cassidy and Jericho. That match, talk about two people who just love, I'm going to say love, who the crowd love and who just thrive with an audience. It's going to be a bit unfortunate the fact there's no crowd, because just think of the atmosphere in that match if it was those two with a crowd. But I don't want to be that guy. I always see that on Twitter, like this was good, but it would be better if it was a crowd there, obviously. But that's obviously not the cards have been dealt. So yeah, good stuff. It was a good night for wrestling. A lot of good matches and a lot of fun moments. So looking forward to night 2 next week. It's going to be a very exciting time. Please tune into my wrestling podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Anchor, YouTube, all these places that you get your podcasts. The Wrestling Connection, a bit of positive wrestling chat every Sunday, talking about the wacky world of pro wrestling and how it connects us all. So please tune in for that every week. We would be really grateful. We need to kind of build that listenership up because we think we've got a really good product. We think our show is really good and our podcast, we believe in it. We just need to get some more ears and eyes on the podcast itself. So please check it out. It would really mean the world to me. And until next time, here on CM42 TV, I will see you all in the next wrestling related video, or you can just tune in tomorrow and over the next couple of days because we have new videos all the time here on the channel, here on CM42 TV. Thanks so much, take care, and I'll see you all next time.